my headlights are pretty bad. And I looked over and I could see like a brighter reflection coming off the front of the screen. I'm like, oh, my lights are, because I was having charging issues. I'm like, oh, my lights are coming up.
Yeah.
It was the flames behind me, the reflection from those flames.
Holy cow. Hey guys, Trevin here, Gear Shift Garage, and we're here in Vintage Technologies with Hawke Lawshe, and he's going to show us around and show us what you do.
All right, there we are. We're in Kalispell. We restore, customize, service all Harleys of every year, make, model of it, you know, the smaller bikes, the bigger bikes, the touring bikes, the choppers, yeah, we try to run a full service shop, do everything in-house except for chrome plating, but we have a full fabrication facility, paint facility, lifts and service and oils and tires and all the fun stuff, you know.
Again, just Harleys.
Just Harleys, yeah. There's 126 years of problems with Harleys, so I think if I get into other makes and manufacturers anyway, then there's a whole nother bunch of tools, a whole nother bunch of training, all that stuff. So it's nice because we did have a local dealership, and they moved on, and so all of our local people, especially with the park and the tours and whatnot, we offer that service for them. We were just strictly doing the vintage stuff, but we ramped up as soon as they left town, and yeah, we've been plenty busy, you know, especially with the valley growing and whatnot. It's been working out pretty good.
Awesome. Well, show us around the shop and show us what you have here.
All right. Well, basically, we've got a series of show bikes here. These are some bikes that we have competed with in California at the Born Free show, and then Sturgis and Rat's Hole show. This one's been to Yokohama, Japan, along with a couple of the other ones. Some personal bikes. That's my very first bike. I built that bike in 1993 when I was 16, and still have and love it. It was my first and favorite, so it's my Trooper.
That's awesome.
My daughter's bike, my 22-year-old daughter bought herself a motorcycle, got her right into it good, you know, so she was stoked on that. A couple other bikes from like my past that I've tried to collect as parts of...
so give us years and models here.
This one is a 1953 Panhead. This is a 1967 Ironhead. This is a 1984 post-AMF, pre-Harley cuss bike, you know, which is kind of neat. 1998 Springer Softail. This is a generator shovel head bike. It usually is all aftermarket modern components, but there's a lot of companies that make these to mimic the Harley. So it's a refined version of an old tractor, basically, that we're customizing. This is a 46 knucklehead Hades. We won Born Free 10 with this bike, and that's been to Yokohama, Japan as well.
Oh, nice.
With 1981 Shovelhead, we won Born Free 11 with this one. Completely exposed valve train and whatnot. It only runs on 2 ounces of oil. It has an automatic clutch and an electric brake. There's no levers or pedals or anything on it, so this is kind of a wild bike. This one's a big crowd favorite with people.
That's awesome. I mean, you build this to ground up, right? This is all custom?
Yeah. We do everything from the crank pin out, do all the paint, all the framework, all the engine work, everything's done by myself, you know. And, sometimes I'll outsource different stuff. I've got some friends in California that actually made the Invader wheels for me. Another friend that skins the seats and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of, they just turn into this was a real elaborate engine design. So the rest of the bike just kind of turned out to be a big rolling engine stand.
I mean, this is so crazy. What inspired the engine design?
It's like when you're in high school and shop class and there's the little gear set with a lever or a cutaway motor or something. I always thought they were fascinating, and I thought it would be very fascinating to see one that ran. So we went through that range, and it does its stuff. There were a lot of naysayers and non-believers, but as soon as it started running, we made them kind of swallow their words, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it was pretty neat. I mean, the more creative and elaborate you get, the more attention you can get for it, and especially when you're doing competitive shows and stuff like that. It just works out a lot better in that respect. The more mild-mannered bikes, there's a lot of those, you know.
Sure.
So
I obviously see some sealed bearings here. So how did you make this all work?
It is all done on dual roll sealed ball bearings, head to toe. Skateboard wheels on the lifters. I mean, so it was an immense amount of machining and whatnot, and just wanted to see the bare bones of the motor. I cut away 90% of the cooling system and virtually all of the oil system, you know, all the complete oil tank, pressure oil system, everything's been deleted. I just have a couple teaspoons oil in the bottom just to keep the rod wet, and that's just to make sure it doesn't stick, you know.
Yeah.
But that was one of those ones that even though you'll catch a lot of flack for it not being rideable or practical, everyone wants to see it do stuff. You know what I mean? So it's one of those. You're kind of doing it for the whole crowd type.
Right.
So even if they're giving you bad attention, you still have their attention.
How many hours do you think you have into that thing?
I usually average about 2,000 hours in each one of these builds, you know. But it's
2,000 hours.
Well, we have a long winter here, you know. It's 9 months of just crap weather, and you sit down with the Dremel tool and start carving away and get what you got.
Dang, that's
awesome. Got coming, you know. Yeah. This is a motorcycle a former business partner got killed on in 2010. So we've kind of got a whole wall of all the. Every year we do a annual run for him and generate money for his daughter. And again, it's one of those neat old crusty bikes that I can't seem to get rid of, you know. Another 46 knucklehead I purchased last year. Just got done riding on this ride with these guys. How many miles was that? So we just did a 300-mile blast on it pretty hard over 2 days. And yeah, it's kind of another personal bike, and we beat the hell out of it, and it's doing pretty good. And I was expecting a much larger puddle of oil underneath it for its age, but it managed to hold up, you know.
Tell us about this ride.
These guys, a handful of them are based out of Boise, and we get in the community, and it's kind of like nationwide and, well, worldwide anyhow. We got a guy with us from Australia on this one, and it's a very limited amount of guys, and we come out, and they start in Boise, and they ride up through here, and that's where I originally met them a number of years ago. They stopped because they needed some work done, and Luke throws a show at the old Idaho Penitentiary State Museum. Put all the bikes in the jail cells and the whole courtyard, and so awesome. It's called the Party at the Pen. The immediate morning after that, off we go and up we come. So I was at the show and opted to ride this half of the way with them, you know, and then open up my shop doors to them and everything. And there's a lot of old bikes with a lot of old bike problems, and so it makes sense. We collect parts, and I try to buy every Harley part that I can get my hands on, especially the old vintage stuff. There's just there were no barn finds like this up here because in this era, in this place, guys weren't buying old Harleys. They weren't buying new Harleys. There was just no. There aren't cool old bikes like this stashed away, you know, older than like the 80s, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So whenever I come across vintage parts like this that are hard to acquire, I try to scoop them up and keep them, you know. Yeah, we've got some random stuff. I mean, there's my high school car. I'm working in the works and restoring that. This is a race car that me and my dad built in the late 80s and ran through the early 90s and whatnot.
Did it actually get ran in the salt flats?
Yeah, we set 7 speed records with it in the early 90s, so it was pretty cool. I just recently acquired the original motor out of it. It was pulled in the early 90s and sent to an engine builder of my dad's, you know. And they've just kind of been the steward of that, and the car's just kind of been locked down, but I was able to make arrangements to acquire the original engine for it. I mean, it's going to put a different motor in it, but it seems
what
like...
speed runs did you win in it?
I mean, it's an old straight six Chevy, so it doesn't really do neck-breaking speeds, but our first record was at 148, and we got them all the way up to 164 over the years.
Oh, sweet.
The car hasn't ran since the 94, so naturally most of those records have been decimated at this point, but I'm coming back for them. So.
Heck yeah.
That'll be pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, and a lot of these other bikes are like just customer bikes, close friends and stuff like that in this half of the shop. This is a bike that Jason just recently restored as per the customer's color requests and all of that stuff, so that seemed to work out pretty good.
So if a customer puts in an order, it's totally spec'd out to whatever they want.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, in some cases, they give us full creative reign. In other cases, they have a very exact, you know, what they want, you know. So we go through and dot the I's and cross the T's, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Try to make their dreams come true. You know, it's all about a good time. It is somewhat of a luxury item, but a lot of people have a lot of passion about this stuff, you know, in these old bikes. So we try to get in and keep it that way. You know,
right. For sure. Well, this is where the magic happens, right? This is the shop?
Yeah, this is it. Well, this is my personal work area right here, my machine tools and whatnot. We do all full engine repair, welding, steel fabrication, machining, everything's done right here in-house. Several lifts here. We've got some wild Australians on the end of Dremel tools over here doing stuff. This is Gaydon, and he's our lead fabricators around here, so he's hard at work fixing and repairing as well, and our mucky fab pit through there. We try to keep all these lifts are open. Really about one for a long-term build and then one for short-term stuff, and long-term and short-term and long-term, so we kind of try to stagger it.
How many bikes can you turn around, I mean, per year?
It depends on the nature of the project, you know. Some of them are actually real time consuming, and we can spend 8 to 10 months on one bike. Some will turn around in less than 30 days, you know. We try to keep our service area open enough to where we can, manage oil and tire changes and keep people going on the road. So we've got a couple lifts that are just dedicated for immediate service type stuff, you know.
Got it.
But we sell a lot of exhaust systems and handlebar upgrades and different things like that, and paint jobs and whatnot. So it's kind of every day is a little bit different, you know what I mean? There's not a real specific, it's not robotic, I guess is what I should say, you know. But yeah, we try to stack old cool stuff and keep our work areas clean and do all that. But again, it gets pretty full in the summer here just because there's no other shops around.
Sure.
We wind up with a great deal of work.
Well, let's walk through and kind of tell us what we're looking at as we come through here.
All right. Well, this is a vintage Harley knucklehead that is on this low ride, and we suffered a front wheel bearing failure. So this is making its thing happy. You know, these old knuckleheads were made from 36 to 1947, and in the middle of that was World War II. So there was not a great deal of production given the war effort. The knuckleheads are a very sought after, very low production bike. So they're really the cat's meow of the Harley world. So to see one, especially all choppered up, I mean, that's cool stuff, you know. We get into a lot of it.
Right.
Yeah, this one right here is a duplication of the motorcycle ridden by Mickey Rourke and Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the Death Dealer bike, and so there's a great deal of framework and all that stuff. That was a very quick movie bike that they made, and so we're trying to duplicate that. It didn't have paint or anything like that, but we have a client that wants the Captain America bike. He wants the Death Dealer bike. He's real into stuff that was on the cover of CD covers or in a movie or something. He's a collector of that type of stuff. You know?
Got it.
So that's what this one is. And then more light fabrication zone here. It's kind of our off-wall parts room. Things that you run into that you're always going to wind up needing. Frames, wheels, transmissions, motors, seats. And it grows and grows and grows. Every time somebody's cleaning their garage out, I wind up with all their old parts.
Right.
It might be a stock piece that's not worth $1, but if we have a stranded traveler that needs that specific part, then I have it.
Got it.
So I wind up housing a lot of junk that I would never probably use in anything personal. But these are parts that aren't readily available, and even the ones that are, you still have to go 100 miles to get it.
Sure.
So having it in house, it just solves. And again, you don't know what you're going to get rid of. You don't know who's going to need what. So.
Can people reach out to you that aren't local?
Most of our custom work, you know, the full ground up builds and stuff are sourced via like social media and Facebook and Instagram. People will request a certain part to be made or to be modified or something like that. Locally around here, there aren't a lot of chopper guys. I mean, the scene is very small. It's basically the guys on staff around here and 2 or 3 of our other buddies. So everybody else is just into the modern stuff. So we kind of had to have a mix of modern service and customizing with vintage customizing and servicing and stuff. So it's kind of a nice push-pull. It does get a little hectic sometimes trying to, you know, see through the smoke of it all. But of course, it's very busy in here today with everybody traveling through.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now this is Jason, our lead mechanic around here. He's jamming away, putting dreams together for people, you know. He handles the bulk of our service, immediate in, immediate out, light resto, service and repair type of stuff, paint. We all paint, we all do the same job around here, but Gaden does more of the fabrication, Jason does more of the light resto stuff, you know. So
Got it.
kind of try to keep everybody busy with what's going on.
Right.
And like I was saying, you got a long term and a short term and a long term and a short term. These are all motorcycles that are in for service.
Oh, wow.
These are some custom builds that need to be finished. That's on our winter docket. We try to line that up through the winter time so that, because naturally in the winter time, the first snowflake falls, nobody's getting their oil changed, nobody's getting their tire changed. It just stops. You know, phone quits ringing. So we try to line that up so that we can map out our winter and whatnot. But
I see.
yeah, and then there's more service in and service out vehicles here. Tire machine, wheel balancer, basic stuff. That is Luke with Chop Mechandise. He's the one who puts on the show, and he leads this whole run. You know what I mean?
Okay.
This is his brainchild. You know, but it's pretty neat. This is it's an early panhead chopper. It was built by a bike club in the Midwest a number of years ago, and has changed hands a number of times until he finally got it and resurrected it. And there was at the Born Free show 15, I believe. You know, so this was a Born Free competitor. There's several Born Free builders in this room right now. You know, guys that have been all over the world and stuff like that. Several Japan alumni, a lot of Born Free alumni. You know, so. They're all heavy hitters. You see, I don't really have to babysit them too much. I just have to show them where the oil and the wrenches are at and let them do their thing, you know.
For sure.
yeah, it's pretty much the layout of the shop, and you just try to keep it busy and try to keep it going. And it was a real small operation, and we kind of ramped up to more vintage stuff. And then when Harley left town, we just kind of had to change gears and start stacking it full of a lot more modern stuff. You know, we had a lot more breathing room before they left.
Got it. Yeah, so I think the closest dealership's probably Missoula. It's 100,
Yep.
over 100 miles away, right?
Yep, exactly.
Got it. What got you into this?
I inherited that panhead from my dad when I was 16, and I was kind of raised on cars and stuff with the racing and whatnot. But then a 16-year-old kid, and the bike was in boxes and milk crates, and like, well, it's gonna be the difference of having a Harley or not having a Harley is putting it together.
Right.
And so I just kind of being mechanically inclinated, I just went that route, learned it, and haven't really looked back since. So I'm coming on 32 years of this. So,
Wow.
yeah. And I registered the shop name actually in 2009 at a local home garage, and everywhere I go, the shop's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and snowballed and snowballed and snowballed, and here we are, you know. And on a bigger scene than we used to be, or anything that I really wildly ever imagined. You know, I just like enjoyed the motorcycles and doing what I do, and it's kind of turned into a really neat thing. You know, I'm meeting some of the neatest people in the world, and I'm working on some of the sickest bikes around. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's been pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Cool for sure, man. Well, this is Matt from Australia.
Matt, good to meet you.
He's all gloved up. We're working on a transmission on his bike. What year is your bike?
It's a 59. Yeah, 59 in a wishbone frame. It's a bit of a Frankenstein. Parts from all different years.
Yeah.
Made one gas tank out of 3.5 gals. Kind of cut them and shot them, and yeah,
Cut him and shot him, yeah.
and then we did that in 2 weeks. I flew over from Oz, and then a couple of weeks to put that bike together. And crazy enough, we're having a few drums. So
Yeah. That we have parts, and we're good. We're in good shape.
I literally couldn't have broken down outside a better shop. Like,
Sweet.
Hawke's a fucking genius. Like, the guy's insane. Like, it's kind of a blessing. I was saying earlier, like, when breakdowns like this happen around people like Hawke, because you get to go to school and you learn a bunch, you know. So take the good with the bad, and that's definitely one of the positives that comes from having a breakdown.
Nice. Well, we're glad to have you.
that's
buddy.
awesome.
We're glad to have you. This is Todd from Boise. This is Haney from Texas. We got Weston from Boise, Matt from Boise. These guys all run their own shops and either welding stuff or tattooing people or doing something wild and crazy. This is their chase rig. Again, another army of vintage bikes here. Panheads and shovel heads and knuckle heads and more panheads and more shovel heads. And
All right, my name is Justin Haney. I'm from Denton, Texas, a smaller town in the Metroplex, just north of Dallas and Fort Worth. Came up here to go on a ride with the guys and put on a little show down in Texas next weekend as well. We all do this stuff. I work a normal day job to do this for fun, and
What do you do for a normal day job?
I do like logistics for a hospital.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, randomly enough.
Biker by night, logistics for a hospital by day.
Yeah, dude.
Well, tell us about the bike.
So bike is a 1950 Harley FL Panhead. Dug up the engine out of a dirt floor in Killeen, Texas, several years ago, almost 10 years ago now. Pieced it together piece by piece and found the frame in Gainesville, Texas. Just labor of love, like all of them. And that's pretty much it. Painted it pink, and here we are fixing it.
That's awesome. Why pink?
I always struggle with colors of bikes anyway, and this is one I hadn't seen a lot of. I found like a really cool 65 Impala lowrider, and I was like, inspired me just to do the monochromatic coloring, and here it is. My lifter lifted out of the studs, snapped a few studs in here, stayed up till 2 a.m. last night repairing it, try to get it back on the road, and
Holy smokes.
little final adjustment here. It's running, but we'll see for how long, you know. It's kind of part of it.
So I guess, I was just going to say, so I guess that's part of it, right?
Yeah,
Spend a day
it's fun.
wrenching, spend the night wrenching to ride for a day.
Exactly. And like, you know, last time I went on this trip, it was pouring rain, snow, sleet, hail, stuff I'd never see in Texas. And so, and the bike ran really well, and kind of just went into it again with like, hey, I'll just change the oil and adjust a couple things before the trip. But anything could happen at any point. So just being able to have good friends around you that are also knowledgeable and riff ideas off of is huge.
Well, thanks for showing us the bike and telling us
Yeah.
about yourself.
A little dirty, but
Appreciate it.
yeah, man.
Jeff Graybaugh from Davenport, Iowa. Bike's a 59 Panhead. Kind of just a bunch of 41 Springer, 57 frame. Kind of just a bunch of parts that I had laying around. I mean, it's just whatever I find. So
it's kind of a hodgepodge.
Yeah, definitely, to say the least. Whatever, I wanted something comfortable for this ride. I did it a couple years ago, and my bike didn't make it past the day 3, I don't think. All right, well, nice meeting you, buddy.
Nice
Thank
to meet you too.
Jason Ochoa. This is a 1968 shovelhead, stroked out to 84 cubic inches, and just finished it before, about 2 weeks before the Lolo run. Got it running, went to the party at the Pin, and been riding it for the last 2 days, and it's been great.
Oh wow,
No
so
problem.
this is new.
Yeah, pretty new. Yeah. Motor was rebuilt by my buddy Troy there in Haltom City, which is right at Fort Worth area.
Okay.
And put the motor in. It's been through some changes, but overall it's been a great bike so far.
Where'd you find it?
I've had the motor in the trans for about 13 years now. Just hardtailed it. Front end is original, was on the actual bike. Hardtailed it, new seat, new sissy bar, new bars, and just getting it comfortable for the ride. So again, it's done really well for me. Been a Born Free, been an invited builder for Born Free 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
So just finished the bike this last June, and it's just kind of moving forward.
Awesome. Well, thanks for showing us the bike and
Yeah,
telling us
thank
about
you.
yourself.
All right.
Heck yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Todd Asen. I'm with Small City Cycles in Boise, Idaho. This is a 1950 Panhead. I forgot which one was which. I have one over there too. It's kind of a simple chopper.
Okay.
Nothing too crazy. I finished it about like 2 o'clock in the morning the night before we left. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So far so good.
So this is a fairly new.
Yeah, very new. Yeah. Just kind of chasing down some little things, but so far nothing major.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So far every bike we've looked at's been like a hodgepodge of parts and pieces. Is this all from one thing, or is
No, this is like wide glide. I guess the wide glide and the frame go together with the motor, but like a Wasso fender, and I built the sissy bar and the gas tank, and just kind of custom pipes that are all crusty, and I mean, I guess the oil tank. It's a mix.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no, thank you.
Nice meeting
Appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, nice meeting you too.
Yeah, so this is the bike I was telling you about earlier. I picked it up in Colorado. It didn't look anything like this. It had a wide glide, 216s, and then 2 split tanks, 2 3.5 gals. I cut those 3.5 gals up with a buddy of mine, John Kung. We stitched them back together and kept the original tank shift mounts and the fuel shutoff as well, so that you could tell that it used to be a set of original tanks.
Got it.
And then I did some stainless molding, which I've done on a few bikes before. I put probably too much time into doing this tank when I really should have been checking, test riding this bike more.
Right.
I kind of just rolled the dice on it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Man.
The transmission had a, the top on it was from V-twin. V-twin stuff is hit and miss. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's really not good. So the ratchet top on this thing just wasn't timed correctly. I wasn't picking up fourth. Also, my kicker gear was bad too. So I lost my kicker gear, then I lost my high gear. So we've got Hawke right now making a new high gear for it for the transmission. But yeah, it's kind of, this is like the shakedown ride for this bike, you know?
Right.
It was in Colorado. I bought off a really nice fella actually in Colorado. It was his dad's. His dad had it since the 60s. Gave it to his son. His son was more into imports. He had a 1200 horsepower Toyota Supra.
Oh, geez.
That he was like down the rabbit hole with, and he just wanted to move this bike on and wanted to go to a good home. So after talking a bunch with him, I think he knew like, all right, cool, this guy's going to ride it. He's going to give it the love that it needs to get it, doing what it needs to again. A lot of these parts though, I picked up along the way. That old sissy bar, someone made back in the day. Looks like 60s or 70s kind of era.
Right.
This is an original offset Springer on the front. 21 front, 19 rear, made in England, Wassel rear fender. This here is the spare fuel. So obviously this is like more of that 60 style, not high capacity. It's, you know, it's only maybe 1.2 gallons.
Right.
We made this, Nick Craig made this one back in Boise while we were mucking around with the rest of the bike. We utilized an old Lawshe filler cap for the top.
That's awesome. And you just little ball valve.
Exactly, man. Yeah,
crank
just wide this thing on, and when we need fuel, bang, that goes down, and off we go.
That's awesome.
But we had on the first day we were riding. I mean, obviously, it's all well and good to have extra fuel on you, but that's a big lot of flammable liquid sitting right behind you, right?
Right.
So on that first day, I had an old US Army issue pack and just an Ozcam sleeping bag stuffed into the bottom of that pack. And as you can see on this side here, it's while I was riding, it rubbed on the pipe, which happens often. I mean, it's happened on Luke's bike out there too with his sleeping bag.
Right.
Unfortunately, I guess the material that was inside that sleeping bags are made of, you know, that it's like a insulated fur,
Yeah.
super flammable.
Yep.
So this thing lit up.
Oh no.
Yeah, while I was going through Hell's Canyon, and it was kind of getting on dusk, and my headlights are pretty bad. And I looked over and I could see like a brighter reflection coming off the front of the screen. I'm like, oh, my lights are, because I was having charging issues. I'm like, oh, my lights are coming up.
Yeah.
It was the flames behind me, the reflection from those flames.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so I started smacking that thing as I was trying to pull over in the middle of this canyon. I ended up, I blistered up my hands pretty good, trying to put it out. But yeah, managed to pull over, get it put out without starting another forest fire.
Jeez.
And I mean, had the fire started on this side, it would have burnt through this rubber line, and it would have been all over. It would have happened it would have gone up quick. You know, you got over 1.2 gallons of fuel sitting in the back there.
Yeah.
That would have been
a bad day.
It would have been real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all things being equal, like we're working it out. You know? It's getting there. I still have faith for this bike. I think it's going to be a good one. The motor feels super strong. It goes down the road nice and straight. So yeah.
That's awesome.
We'll see, man.
Dang, very cool.
Yeah. Hey,
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us see your shop and show us everything.
It's been a pleasure having you guys here, and I'm glad you guys got to jump in with the crew here for a minute. So
Heck yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate
all
it.
right, man. Have a good one.
You too.